Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action. Hey, what's up everyone? This is Dan from the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel, here with the Hell in a Cell live build-up. And I'm I would say I'm joined by Scott, Rob, and Lucas, but only one of them's bothered to show up. So thanks, here, Rob. Making up for last time not being here. Yeah. So yeah, how are you anyway?
I'm Gucci, man. I'm annoyed that I missed the last pay-per-view. I said I weren't too well. I kind of, when you half tune into something, so I've got it playing, I'm listening. And my eyes were just starting to close. I was like, I'm so glad I didn't go live because I would have been falling asleep live on air. So, but yeah, I'm good.
Then we just bored you to tears and you're like, sod it. But yeah, anyway. So, as I said, we are here for the Hell in a Cell build up. Obviously, we got me, Scott, and Lucas did our predictions last week. You sent yours in via the medium of text messaging.
I did.
For all you older viewers, that's a message feature that you can get on mobile telephones nowadays. But yeah, so let's just quickly go through the matches that we predicted then, and obviously your thoughts on it. So first one was Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair. So with that one, so Scott and Lucas both said that Charlotte were going to win. I said Rhea Ripley was going to win. And seemingly you and me both agree. So I'm not sure if you actually were aware of this, but from WrestleMania Backlash, you and me both were 100% and our answers were pretty much spot on exactly the same as well. So, and that carried over to this one. So
that's great minds think alike, man. Which pay-per-view was it where we got a full sweep? Was that the second? Was that Mania?
That was WrestleMania Backlash, yeah.
Okay. So,
and this is WrestleMania Hell in a Cell at Extreme Rules.
Yeah. Hopefully the streak continues and we get a full sweep again. But I mean,
we won't because we're gone differently in one of the matches. But we'll get to that when we go on air because when the others come on because that's slightly changed now. It's the obviously Bianca Bayley match. So, but yeah, Raw Women's Championship, Charlotte Rhea. Thoughts behind Rhea Ripley?
So this is my after because I sent it in, and then I was listening to you guys, and then I kind of watched the product a bit, like catching up and stuff. And I just feel like all of a sudden they wanted to drop the ball with Ripley. Like I just really hope that she's not going to be a transitional champion for Flair because it just seems that's how they're booking it. I mean, Bianca and Bayley has got more of a build. It's been more enjoyable as opposed to on Raw. It just seems like they've dropped the ball with everything. It's not been great. The build-ups have not been the best. Obviously letting other superstars go, that hasn't helped as well. It just seems like they've got no faith in the product. And I don't think they've got much faith in this match by the look of it.
Yeah, and on the subject of you saying about like the release superstars, if you haven't already, guys, go back and check out the video that we did on the shocking releases. This was the one that had just gone. That obviously covered Lana, Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Ruby Riott, and Santana Garrett. Previous to that, we also did one back in April, the shocking releases. But as you can see by the graphics, Samoa Joe is there. And if you did watch Lay the Smackdown this week, you will know Samoa Joe is back in WWE, back over on the NXT brand as William Regal's enforcer. So, yeah. So anyway, that's the plug out the way anyway for that one. But yeah, I mean, going back to obviously what you were saying really about the whole the whole thing with Rhea, Ripley, and Charlotte. It's like it just seems like I don't think they know what they want to do with that Raw Women's Championship. You know, because obviously with Becky leaving, it was on Asuka pretty much since Becky left. I think there was there one time when somebody beat, was it Banks or someone beat her, I think, for it, and then
I think it
went back on her like the next week or something. But yeah, it just seems as though they just have no idea what they want to do with these women's championships. And you know, obviously all that the stuff that came out obviously on social media with Triple H when he was saying about a women's title, women's pay-per-view thing. But even on this card, like, you know, half the card is actually women's matches. And the interesting thing as well was obviously last week's Raw was quite female orientated, and I really did enjoy it. Actually, I thought, you know, I just felt as though they didn't feel like they had that confidence in the women to actually main event the show for some reason. But you know, I felt, see, and obviously they've got this interesting like Nikki Cross dynamic in it as well. So it's like, and we've got to think as well, Money in the Bank coming up. So I just think it's just really strange at the moment what's going on with this women's division. Because obviously we've touched on SmackDown only having like 7 women on it at the moment, but that's another story for another time that we could sit for hours and just talking about that. But yeah, that's ridiculous over there. But obviously, there was talks recently that Becky is back in training as well for a return, you know. See, we were even saying like the ideal place for Becky to come back would be Money in the Bank, because obviously everyone's hyping up SummerSlam. But you remember last year when around this time, I think it was actually, or it was in May, when they did the Money in the Bank pay-per-view, and they had obviously Asuka winning it on top of the roof. And then, oh, by the way, rest in peace, Rey Mysterio and Aleister Black from getting thrown off and getting murdered by Baron Corbin. Yeah, I wonder whatever happened to those two guys.
Don't know.
Both lost eyes at some point, didn't they?
Yeah. So are we blaming Baron Corbin for the fact that both of them lost eyes future, like down the line?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Might as well blame him for everything else. So yeah. But yeah, I think that would be the ideal thing probably for Becky to come back at Money in the Bank, because then, you know, she could then say, well, you know, the only reason Asuka was champion was because obviously she was handed it in the Money in the Bank briefcase. Could you imagine though, Becky winning Money in the Bank, not necessarily being assigned to a brand?
I mean,
just being able to float across both brands.
I don't see there's a problem with that. In my honest opinion, I think the best thing for them to do would be unify the women's championship, just have one, and then just let Raw and SmackDown and the women just cross co-brand. You know, it just seems like that's easier to do.
I mean, the thing as well, like we've touched on the fact of obviously NXT have got more women just on their roster than what Raw and SmackDown have combined, and that's ridiculous as well. Like, I think, you know, you could even go with, okay, so you've got the Women's Championship over on NXT, you've got NXT Women's Tag Championships, which that makes sense because there's more of them. So then why don't you just stick with what you were doing before? The tag titles go across all 3 brands. You have obviously the main women's championship. And then even if you turn, say, like the SmackDown Women's Championship or something into like a mid-card title, call it like the Evolution Championship or something like that. And then you've got something else for the women to fight over. But yeah, I guess as well, it's nice to see that they're doing like feuds as well. Like, especially what we saw on Raw, you know, because we've been highly critical of it historically, that why does every women's feud have to be either about, oh, I look better than you, or, you know, oh, we're not friends anymore, or it's going to be over a championship. Whereas it was nice to see on Raw that it's like, you know what, they're just going to fight for the sake of fighting. Like, you don't see blokes going like, oh yeah, I want to fight you because my hair looks better than yours today, or, you know, oh, I don't like what color gear you're wearing today. That doesn't make you look very. It's like, you don't get that with the guys. Like, why not afford the women the same level of respect?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I spoke on the Talking Beans podcast. This was a long time ago. I can't remember what. I think it was a Royal Rumble, the first women's one. And the way they treated Nia and the way they spoke about her, they said she was like bigger than the women. She was more of a powerhouse. But if that was the guys, they'd say like he was fatter. Do you know what I mean? They'd word things a lot different. So when it seems like when it comes to the male and female, even though they are being treated the same in the ring, there's still a lot of differences that they're not kind of. There's still like a difference with them. And I think if they either have to put that difference aside and just let them get on with it and treat them with respect, like with champ, or keep that difference, and then that's what we're getting now. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think exactly right with it. It's just, everyone's going to be different, and it's like it was just just want to like give a shout out to like Piper Niven. She did an amazing job of what she had to do on Raw. It's like, why are people going online and body shaming her? It's like, we're in 2021. Everyone's different now. Whether what a person looks like should not determine their ability inside a ring. You're watching the show to watch wrestling. Does it matter whether you're watching somebody that's slim, that's overweight, that's black, that's white, it doesn't matter. Anybody that steps in that ring is in there because they are fully trained at what they do. They are great at what they do. And they're there to entertain everybody, and they do a fantastic job of it. And people forget they risk their lives as well. Like they're risking their careers every time they go in there.
Yeah, I mean,
we've got a comment here, Woke and Dan Hardy. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, mate, I mean, Matt obviously is so Matt is one of Lucas's good friends and a fella, he's wrestler himself. So Matt, you'll probably know exactly what we're on about as well. It's like, the fact that obviously people are not giving these guys the respect they deserve. And it's like they're focusing more on what people look like rather than the ability that they possess inside the squared circle. So
what really confused as people were, I see on Twitter and stuff, the fat shaming about Piper and all this sort of stuff. I mean, props to her. She embraced it, and Jordan Grace, another one, was kind of then sticking up for her. But they didn't really argue back. Like they could kind of just took it as a professional. But how can we go and have someone like Bray Wyatt who dresses as the Fiend, like in a mask and stuff like that, and does all this weird cryptic stuff, and no one criticizes that, but then we can have someone appear just because they're slightly bigger and criticize it? It's wrestling. It's entertainment. Like you can't have one without the other. Like they go hand in hand. So if you're gonna moan about one person's size, moan about the product that you're getting as well.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Well, I think people do a fair amount of that as well.
Well, yeah, but you can't moan. You can't moan about
to be fair, they moan about the product being terrible, but that is nothing at all to do with the guys and girls that are in the ring. It's to do with the writing of the show because they're only going out there. They're like actors that are being directed by this kind of one entity that's saying, right, I want you to go out there and say this. I want you to go out there and do this and that. And it's like, just leave these talented people that you're paying to, and let them be themselves. We've got another comment here from Matt. Yeah, unfortunately, it's part and parcel of the job. Generally, fans don't care how talented someone is; they care about the look, story, heel, face, etc. It's just
it is a shame. I mean, Piper's great. I mean, we're seeing her in NXT UK. Now,
is it actually Piper though? Because obviously the commentators didn't have a clue who she was.
That's true. She was very.
It looked. All of a sudden, don't get me wrong. It looked like Piper Niven.
And
the mannerisms were very much like Piper Niven. But obviously the commentators have never watched NXT UK, so they don't even know who these guys are. So they're not going to even know that she's Scottish. They probably think, oh, this is just some random person. But have you seen the new name apparently that they're looking at giving her? So apparently the name is Dewdrop, DEWDROP.
I thought that was I thought that was going to be the move, that the finishing move, or is that going to be her name?
I think this is what they're saying. They don't, because they've not acknowledged who she is. I think they're looking at that potentially being her name.
I find it baffling. What I'm really worried about is the minute I see her in the ring, I was like, oh, great, she's there. Like, she's the perfect person to help with Eva, right?
It was either going to be, they said it was either going to be her or Mercedes Martinez, but I think Mercedes would be better off coming up on her own and just going in straight into that SmackDown Women's division and just tearing those women apart, really.
But the only thing I noticed was she came out and she was very giggly and girly. And then she got in the ring. When the bell rung, all of a sudden she was like this monster. And I'm really hoping they don't do a Festus with her. Like the minute the bell rings, do you know what I mean? I'm so worried.
Bell rings, it's like all business sort of thing.
Yeah.
But,
and then after that, she goes back to
But anyway, for those of you that do watch NXT UK and do enjoy watching Scottish wrestlers, don't forget, go and check out the interview that Scott did with Noam Dar. There's some really good stuff on there. And then that obviously leads nicely into the next match that we are going to talk a little bit about, which is Bobby Lashley versus another Scottish wrestler, Drew McIntyre, friend of the channel. Me and Scott sat down with him, God, it seems like forever ago now, but before he was even WWE champion. But yeah, such a lovely guy. So this match is, I'm guessing, the main event of the show now. This is taking place inside the cell. Scott was the only one who went with Drew to win. All three of us went with Bobby Lashley. So obviously, mine, Lucas, and Scott's thoughts on Drew, on Bobby or Drew winning. So what were your reasonings behind Bobby Lashley?
Do you know what? I'm not going to be one of those people that goes, "Oh, I'm bored of Drew," because it's unfair on Drew. He was given the title, or he earned the title at Rumble. Then he had to go through all this pandemic era that we've had, and he's been absolutely incredible when he was a champion or when he was chasing. I just think they got to a point where they have overused him for certain things. Like when it comes to, he could have disappeared for a little while, then come back, or try to redeem someone else in the process. When he had that little feud with Sheamus, I absolutely loved it because we didn't need him to have a title. He was just wrestling Sheamus. You know what I mean? And I just think at this current moment in time, Bobby Lashley can do a little bit more with his championship because we've seen Drew go against other people. So I think for me, it's more a case of seeing what Lashley does next as opposed to what Drew does. I want to see him kind of drop a bit, then go back to the main picture. So it's literally for that reason. If Drew wins, then I'm happy. But I'd rather Lashley win, obviously for the points.
Yes, I guess it is one of those things, really, isn't it? That Drew has obviously gone through this whole period pretty much of carrying the company as champion, and ironically, the defeat that he did have for the WWE title initially came inside Hell in a Cell, and that was back in October, which was, again, we said on here, a pointless title loss, basically. And should never have happened, really. But yeah, we've got another comment in here from Matt. In Piper's case, she isn't Photoshop model, so they give a stick. Heard Vince said for her not to be referenced as ever existing before.
Well, that sums up Vince, doesn't it?
Yeah. As they say, senile old man. But anyway. But yeah, I mean, and the thing is, it's one of those things where it's really disrespectful to the writers because as well they spend all that time sitting there writing, and he just rips it up last minute. We've got a comment especially for you as well. When are you going to debut, Rob?
So what was the name that we gave? It was El Banco de Neros or something like that, wasn't it? For money in the bank.
Something like that, yeah. I don't know. That's just the one we gave you on the screen, mate.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we'll roll with it. I don't know. I mean, I'm still trying to get gains at the moment. I hitting the gym a lot. As the guys know, I can't remember when it was. It was the last pay-per-view when I was talking about the inches of the pythons, and Scott disagrees.
What are you at? What are you at now?
No, I haven't measured them recently. I want to measure it. I want to measure
Don't
after.
lie. So, but yeah, so as we said, we were talking Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley, but we are now joined by Lucas.
Hey.
Hello, welcome. Yeah, so Drew McIntyre, Bobby Lashley. We briefly touched on Rhea Ripley, Charlotte Flair. And yeah, we're just now talking a bit about the Hell in a Cell match. Well, the first Hell in a Cell match, which is probably going to main event the show. But yeah, while I've got you both here, let's talk about another Hell in a Cell match. And I'm not talking about SmackDown Women's Championship one. I'm talking about the one that happened on SmackDown, surprisingly. So thankfully, we didn't predict this one because initially this was predicted that that this was going to actually happen. So on the SmackDown, so what we'd done was we had actually recorded the prediction show was straight pretty much the day after a SmackDown. On that SmackDown, it had been teased, but obviously we didn't know at the time that it was going to be announced and then not announced. And I don't think they did, to be fair. But yeah, what did we think of that, actually? Oh, we got a comment, by the way, as well. Lucas, it's behind you.
Do you know what?
Is around.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it, you know. Bearing in mind it was on SmackDown, I mean, I've read so much stuff online. It was a ploy to get ratings back up and all this stuff. But I think, honestly, the only reason I've really tuned into SmackDown the last few months of when I've watched it is because of Roman Reigns. So,
yeah.
do you know what I mean? And I just think the time that they had as well, they were given a fair, decent amount of time. And Ray done what he does to do. You know, obviously, he put over Roman. But honestly, I didn't realize how good Ray still was until he has a match like, you know, when you watch the matches when he had it with Andrade, you know, and you forget how good someone is, and then you watch a match like they just had at Hell in a Cell, or in the Hell in a Cell at the SmackDown, and it was great. You know, it done what it needed to do. The ending was great. I like the modified version of the guillotine when he held it to the side. Is that going to be? Do you think that's going to be something new that he starts doing, or is that just because Ray was smaller to make it look more effective?
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I've heard rumblings that possibly it was because Ray was too small to actually lock the proper version in. But yeah, I think definitely it's been the Roman Reigns show, hasn't it? Really. We got another comment here as well. As Rob versus Reigns was good. Which was at Hell in a Cell. To be fair, I think it struggled throwing you around like he did with Ray, mate, with your game. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And another one from Matt here. Reigns and Lashley are the stars WWE have been needing for a long time. Keep them on different shows, build them up. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, they've been obviously crying out for all these like big name stars for a while, and I think it just shows that it's taken a heel turn for everybody to get behind Roman Reigns. I think the old Roman Reigns character was getting really, really stale, and we've got obviously the comparisons with when Cena was obviously face and stuff as well. So.
Well, talking about Cena as a face, though, this is how I feel with Drew now, surely, because he's in every title match that's ever existed. Yeah. You know, he probably tried to get his way in the Women's Championship match if he could. But, yeah, in terms of the match on SmackDown, I'm a bit annoyed that, obviously, you know, it happened like that, you know, like I think, you know, obviously, and those people will obviously say, look, there were 2 Hell in a Cell matches that took place on Raw in 1998. This is obviously during the very early days of the stipulation existing, and during obviously the hottest era in terms of ratings that wrestlers ever had, the Monday Night Wars, where, you know, we could talk about that all day really, but anyway, it was it was different times, and those matches ended in no contest. They were generally speaking very short matches. They've also had a Hell in a Cell, I believe, on a house show. I think about 10 years ago, I want to say. They ran a couple of them on a house show, but again, they would usually be 5-minute affairs that would end very quickly in like either a no DQ, not no DQ, but either in a DQ or like a no contest kind of thing. But I really feel with this one that redefines like maybe where WWE, see the money now, and they're seeing that Fox deal as being so important, even more important than the pay-per-views. Which, let's be real, from the day dot with the WWF back in those days, Vince McMahon, he took over from his father, and he decided that he needed the pay-per-view model, and pay-per-view companies around the world, got with him and followed him on that journey in the pay-per-view model. And there's been some amazing numbers for wrestling pay-per-views over the years, that, and most of them obviously that Vince McMahon's obviously done. Most famously obviously for stuff like WrestleMania 28, which was a huge pay-per-view. But now we're in obviously the era with the network, and they just sold that obviously to Peacock over in the States. Again, $1 billion deal, but it's this Fox deal where I think the money is talking, and the Fox, they wanted bigger shows, they wanted the best match, they want the big stars, and there's so few at the moment. Like Matt touched upon there, you've got Reigns, you've got Lashley. Then it is a case of you look for your outsiders and your part timers, like your Edges, Goldbergs. I'd argue that they had a star at one point in Bray, but I think we're kind of past that being the time. I guess there is time for him to rebuild, I guess. And he's going to be, I guess, for this era, he's going to be like, he was the dark character guy. He had, obviously, whether it was the whole world in his hands, Bray Wyatt, whether it was the weird Sister Abigail Bray Wyatt, or like we see now, we've got the Fiend. He is that guy who does those characters, and he's done them very well for a long period of time. Had quite all right success. He's a 2-time world champion in the company. 3-time world champion, isn't it? 2 or 3? 2, isn't it? Yeah.
2? I think it's 2.
Yeah.
No, it's 3-time. Well, no, he was 3-time. He beat he won the Chamber match back in 2017, and then he beat Seth Rollins in Saudi Arabia, and then he was champion for a week last year, in between that whole Strowman Reigns weird thing happened.
Oh yeah.
So he's a 3-time world champion. Wow. Okay, there we go. He's already halfway to what Stone Cold did, in a few years. But yeah, look, I think there are obviously so few stars, so like I can see why they went this direction. I haven't seen the match, so I can't comment too much. So Matt, he was doing well for a while, but now dropped off too far. Yeah, like for me, it's like he's on that fence really where he's teetered over, but I think he can be pushed back. And I think maybe with him obviously being on a sort of limited appearances kind of deal, but he needs to win his next feud. He never wins rivalry. It's really weird for someone who's been this terrifying character. He always loses that big payoff moment and match. And the fact that Randy Orton was able, in my opinion, and this is, again, where we could talk about this all day, WrestleMania, and how it, especially when we come to the other match on this card, with WrestleMania, it didn't need to happen this year, it seems, because we're still in WrestleMania season. We're still getting WrestleMania matches. But in terms of the Fiend, it's like Randy Orton beat the Fiend at WrestleMania and is now just in RK Bro, where you think years before that, if someone had beaten someone of that caliber, they will be being set up for the next push. Because even way back to WrestleMania 29, Mark Henry and Ryback had a match. Ryback lost, but then he was set up as the next challenger to face John Cena for the WWE Championship. And fair enough, Ryback flopped in the main event, but it was still like a big thing of like, you have this WrestleMania match at moment that goes on to something, and something of quite significance, not RK Bro.
Yeah. And then like just going back to Bray as well. So Matt saying that they should have pushed him when he first 100%, man. When he had like Rowan, Harper, and Strowman like with him, he should have literally been like a dominant champion then, like much like what they're doing with Roman, having like the Usos around him and that. And on the subject of that, as another comment, Rikishi will come back and declare himself the real head of the table. Do you reckon he'll say that he did it for The Rock as well?
Well, he's eating at many tables, Rikishi. Let's put it that way. I think that's what he might be the same.
And also, we've got another comment here. This is relating to the Rey Mysterio thing. The Master Similar, pull up the Roman Reigns versus Rey graphic, then look at Rob. Okay, so obviously,
am I pulling Rey's face?
Put
one
screen.
second.
Put Rob full screen.
Right, so hang on. So let's do. Right, so that's Rob, and that's Rey.
Oh man, it's
similar
very similar.
colours as well.
It is, yeah.
Can you get yourself
I need a Mohican, guys.
For next time.
So Ray, Rob.
I need a Mohican.
Get yourself a SmackDown, a little kiddie one that you can get from Smith's and other toy stores, Argos, etc.
I was going to say Toys R Us, but I don't think that's around anymore, is it?
What year are you in?
I know.
I always miss those adverts though.
Next to Macklin and
Christmas.
Debenhams, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we all go to CNA for on the weekend. But anyway,
everyone watching America has no idea what we just said.
No.
And
I love that. Do your research, American folks. Woolworths was the
Woolly
stuff back in the day.
It's great.
It was always their pick and mix.
Yeah.
Where are we then with this? Then? So I don't think they should have done that match on SmackDown, but I can see why they've done it because obviously they care more about Fox. It'd be interesting to see, obviously, with them obviously not being able to go to Saudi, whether that would have been a match they would have had at Saudi. I think Saudi would definitely want a cell match at some point. So I can see, obviously, where the money goes, where WWE will sadly end up going. But it was odd because obviously it was just announced on Thursday, wasn't it? That match. It was like the day before.
Yeah. So because initially it wasn't even. So it was within the space of a week. So not even a week. So it was announced. I think officially the match was announced on the Sunday or the Saturday afternoon, and then by the Thursday it had changed. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah, I'm just checking on their Insta, but the way they put it as well. I can't.
Like Rey Mysterio couldn't wait to do it or something.
Yeah. It's. I can't remember. It was something to do with Ray. They can't wait till Sunday. Yeah, that was it. It was just ridiculous. Like it was like a bootleg booking just to get it onto on the show. I said, I enjoyed it for what it was. It's a shame that it wasn't on the show.
And it was strange seeing a Hell in a Cell match with like adverts and stuff in the middle.
Yeah,
because normally where we used to seeing them on pay-per-view, you're just seeing the match in its entirety. But to see like a cell match go through that, and it was really actually a nice touch as well that Roman did the same thing to Ray that he did to Dom, but obviously there was a cell in the way this time, not a crash mat. So obviously dashing him into the side of the cell and that. But I thought overall though, the cell match was actually pretty decent. I don't see why they didn't do it on pay-per-view, but they obviously did throw on a couple more matches afterwards. And sorry, what was you going to say, mate?
Yeah, like I think I can see why they've done it. I think obviously with them adding more matches to pay-per-view and the Hell in a Cell matches being long, and something which I think that they've done, but I'm not sure whether it's intentional, but I think once they've clocked it, they want to stick to it, is this pay-per-view is completely evenly split. And I think bringing it back to AEW too, like AEW did obviously Blood and Guts, didn't they? On basically television, on Dynamite. So I think a cell type structure being used on TV, like that is their way of kind of getting back at them. And also with what they've done with this card. So if anyone hasn't clocked, this card now, as of me saying this, until there may be someone gets injured or whatever, but is completely split. There's 3 women's matches and 3 men's matches, which I believe is probably the first time it's ever happened. So I don't know whether it's an intentional thing they've done, but again with Mickie James obviously saying that she's producing a women's show for NWA, and with obviously the comments that have come out about the women's, there's been a lot of kind of thing about the women's roster over the past couple of months. So it's following the releases back in April and last month, and even earlier this month too, to be fair, like where they have obviously hacked at that women's division. What's your laughing?
Sorry, I just seen a comment. It was the response from Vinny that popped me.
So what are the odds on Kane turning up? And then the response was Kane Dingle.
We have Matt and Vinny have been at it over Facebook.
Who's Kane Dingle?
From Emmerdale.
Right, okay.
Who Vinny actually looks like, to be fair.
Does
Vinny
he?
looks like Kane Dingle. For those wondering. How have we mentioned Dixon, CNA, and Kane Dingle on the same podcast? That's a wrestling show. This is the thing, WWE makes better pay-per-views. Talk about the British quirks.
So, but I mean, I know when we did the predictions initially, it was so the matches that were announced, they had. So when we did the predictions, there was 3 matches announced.
Yeah.
2 were women's, 1 was men's, and the 2 women's ones were both not in the cell, but the men's one was. And then obviously Roman and Ray then got announced and then not announced, and that was obviously inside the cell.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just, I found it strange that they were like, okay, so the women are going to be on the show, but none of their matches are going to be inside the cell. But then obviously we heard on this, it was only on this week's SmackDown, obviously after the whole Roman and Ray match getting changed, and that was that obviously Bayley and Bianca Belair was now going to be inside Hell in a Cell, or Belanca, as Michael Cole referred to her. Rob, I want to throw to you on this one because you're the only one out of all of us that said Bayley.
Yeah.
And it's going to be interesting as well to know, would any of us have actually changed? Like, now knowing that it's actually a Hell in a Cell match, would any of us have changed?
So I'm still going with Bayley. Obviously we can't change anyway, but even if I had the option to, I would still go with Bayley. However, it's one of those things. It's WWE booking, isn't it? So it could be Bayley all the way up to the night, like to the 2 minutes before the match starts, and then bang, Bianca's winning. This is exactly what WWE does. But I've absolutely loved the way Bayley's been booked going forward. In this feud. I mean, they had like a mini feud when Bianca first come up, and they had that. It was a bit dodgy, like the picking each other up and having to lift up Otis and all that sort of stuff. It was awful. But this one, it just seems like it's a newer heel version of Bayley, and I'm absolutely enjoying it. Like she's so good, and someone like Bianca is someone perfect for like the next feud to really elevate her as well. But yeah, I really don't know. It is I think this is probably one of the harder ones for me to decide, because as I said to Dan, I want to say Bianca because I really want to see her kind of, get pushed and elevated a bit more. But the way Bayley's been recently, not being on Mania, and all of a sudden she's still getting this credibility, shows how much of a great talent she is, on and off the mic, even in and out of the ring. So, for me, it was the hardest one to call. However, I think Bayley will win, because then it will come to SummerSlam, and that's when Bianca will become a 2-time and then redeem herself.
And then Vinny saying he thinks Bianca should have a Bruno Sammartino 10+ year reign. Best. Yeah, well, yes, they'll probably do that and then have her lose to like Stephanie McMahon or something.
Well, like a 50-year-old Stephanie.
Or Linda.
Linda, I don't know how long. Yeah. Yeah, look, I don't know. The Stell stipulation changed it a little bit, I guess, because obviously we were speaking about, mainly in the Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley match, we were speaking about obviously SummerSlam kind of implications going forward. But then I guess we're always in this stage with WWE, aren't we, where we're always talking about the next big event. And it doesn't always go the way we want it to, or the way we think. Like, I mean, obviously, look, we spent the best part of kind of last year, didn't we, on this podcast, talking about how WrestleMania will be the Bayley versus Sasha Banks. That's where they're going to. They're gonna team. They're gonna feud. That's Mania. And then we ended up obviously with what we've got at the moment. Obviously Bianca Belair, rising up the ranks, and with them obviously always doing that blow off, way ago now. It was like a lifetime ago. Actually, at the last Hell in a Cell, wasn't it? To be fair. And so I'd argue that the Cell maybe, like, I wouldn't change my prediction from Bianca, but I think it does make Bayley seem more possible, because I'm thinking, they would want, that would be a way to get it off Bianca. Like, there's a lot of different things that can go down in the cell and outside the cell if that was to happen. But yeah, like, I don't think it's enough for me. But I wouldn't, for me to change it. But I wouldn't be surprised, because it is WWE, and obviously what they could do.
Yeah, I think it's, as I say, it's one of those. It's one of them things. I reckon what they're doing, I think they're going to lead to. I think they're going to throw Sasha in for SummerSlam and have it as like a triple threat. I think that's what they're probably building to.
Potentially, yeah, potentially.
We've got obviously, you guys like stats and stuff, but we've got a little fact here from Vinny. Linda's the only McMahon not to have an action figure. So.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of makes sense. That kind of makes sense, because I guess they would have done if they did one for her. It would have to be back in the Attitude Era, and they wouldn't have obviously done one when she was running for Senate unsuccessfully, like the 4 times she tried or whatever it was. You know, but I guess she wouldn't. Yeah, so I guess it makes sense.
And then Matt saying that he thinks her, as in Bianca, should. So on the subject of Vinny's comment here, so there is actually a release.
Hello.
Hang on. Oh, we're joined by someone from the beach. Hello, mate. Hello, mate.
It might be a bit windy, so feel free to mute me when it's not my turn to talk.
Okay.
Okay.
So
mute him now then.
Get annoyed at that. But how you doing, boys?
Yeah, we're good.
Have you gone back in time? Because you're light. You're bright there. We're in darkness.
Yes, still bright out. Yeah. Anyway, I was enjoying the show on my way here. So yeah, where were we?
We were just talking about Bianca Belair and Bayley's match. So we're gonna.
Shout. Am I too loud? Or should I talk normal? Is this all right?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, I won't shout. All right.
No worries. So we've literally got 3 matches that we need to matches we need to predict. Oh, by the way, you've not even been on for a minute and you're already getting abuse, mate. You've got the Christina Aguilera hat on again.
I told you don't know style, mate. You got the wrong hat. I'm gonna find out the name of that hat to explain it next time. I keep forgetting.
And I knew Scott didn't hand in his annual leave.
I couldn't, mate. I'm tied to the job.
But yeah, so what we're going to do now quickly, we're going to get into a couple of the matches that have been announced now. That is the most furthest away match that was announced, which is Alexa Bliss and Shayna Baszler. This was announced it was about a week ago on Raw nearly now. So what we're going to do is, as usual, we're going to roll the dice and we're going to see exactly who is going to go first. It is number 3, which is Lucas, is it? Or Rob?
We're on the wrong sides.
They're the wrong way around?
Yeah, wrong way around.
Yeah.
There we go. Lucas, there we go.
So is it Mike, me, Toggers first?
Yeah, mate.
Okay. So for this one, I think that it should be Shayna Baszler, but it won't be Shayna Baszler. Dan, there is a type of Shayna Baszler. No, I think Alexa Bliss is going to win this one because there will be some sort of cinematic type finish thing that they do. Lightning, fire, I don't know, bloody something. The undead. I don't think what they haven't used. I'm convinced that Vince has just seen like some of the the old kind of 1930s kind of horror movies.
Yeah.
I think Vince has just seen all these, and he thinks they're like the brand new movies, and he's seen all this, and he's just decided to go through this. I don't know, Creature of Black Lagoon. That'll be it. That'll be the next. That'll be how this match ends. There'll be some sort of shenanigans. Because this is how that match is going. Obviously, Alexa Bliss is holding the fort, I guess, for a while. Bray is obviously off. Obviously, we've learned that Bray has been announced, obviously, for the August 9th edition of Raw. So he will be returning not too far away from SummerSlam. How convenient.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, obviously, until then, Alexa Bliss will obviously be holding the fort, doing her stuff and her weird shenanigans. So I think that this will be a win for Alexa Bliss.
Cool. And we flip over to you, Rob.
Yeah, it's got to be Alexa. I mean, I don't really see anything else happening. I mean, it just seems like this is going to be the first proper feud for her. The first time she wrestled in forever was against Nia, and that was on Raw, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, that was fairly decent. It's a shame that she lost in the way she did, but then I guess we're getting this darker side of Alexa coming. So I think it'll be normal Alexa that comes out, and then we're going to get like this darker version. But I think there's going to be something that happens with Lily that then causes the basically the loss for Shayna. But I think Lily's going to get involved somewhere or another. And I mean, I'm hoping it's not just a really bad teddy bear that flies across the ring. But this is WWE talking about, so you never know. But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying the stuff with Alexa. I just want to see what happens next. At some point down the road near SummerSlam, you know, full well Bray's going to be a part of it, either against her or with her. That is unanswered questions. I mean, technically, we're still waiting to find out why that pinfall happened at NXT, but I digress. We'll get to that later. But yeah, it's definitely Alexa for me.
Yeah, I think I'm probably so it's ran to me now. So I think I'm in agreement. I think as much as obviously you want to think Shayna Baszler on paper should be snapping Alexa Bliss in half, you've got to think the way that the characters are at the moment. I can't see anything other than Alexa Bliss winning this, to be honest. And you know, I feel as though this is going to be pretty short. It's going to be quite a comfortable victory for Bliss as well. So, yeah, I think for me, Alexa Bliss. So now we're going to throw over to via satellite on the old Costa del Beach. There we go. Let's have a better look at the beach now.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Nice,
it's nice, yeah. Quite nice.
Yeah.
You got your own little chair there as well. You got a deck chair or something.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh right. Oh, I thought you got like one of the linked to deck chair or something.
No, I bought it today. Anyway, Alexa Bliss is going to win because why have they have this match? You know, like I'm happy to see Shayna in a one-on-one again, but it's not really, though, is it? It's not like it's not the NXT Shayna one-on-one, is it? It's Shayna facing a doll inspired Alexa Bliss. So whatever, you know, like I mean, this whole thing with Bliss and Bray and all that has been hit and miss at times. Hit Bliss, enjoyable at times, but weird as well. Just because it's weird doesn't make it bad, but sometimes it's not been a good weird either, you know. So, like obviously Rob's joking about like a doll coming across the ring and whatever. That's basically what happened with Bray, isn't it? That doll getting set on fire. So it's the same thing, isn't it? So who knows? Maybe we will. But yeah, I'm going to Alexa Bliss on this one, boys.
Cool. And as well, I think it's the last chance really that they've got to do anything kind of cinematic-y on a pay-per-view, really, because obviously the last one being in the Thunderdome. So, you know, they're not really going to have much more opportunities to do like stupid stuff like scarecrows getting set on fire in the middle of a ring. So, yeah. Right, so let's now go on to a rematch from WrestleMania, which is Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. So let's roll the dice and let's see who goes first on this one. It is number 1. Ooh, me. So as much as I love the Seth Rollins character at the moment, I think that it's going to be Cesaro. I think as well, Cesaro at the moment, I think is on an upward trajectory in the company. I would love to see Cesaro get built up to a point where he would be seen as a credible challenger to Roman Reigns. I mean, obviously he's had matches with Roman, but you know, I'd just like to see something just a little bit more like where you're thinking, you know what, he could actually win the title here. But as I say, I mean, yeah, for me, I think Cesaro, he seems like he's doing some of the best work of his career. So yeah, give him the win here, I think. So Cesaro for me.
Well, at Mania, I was like, Cesaro's at his moment. His moment is the match, and then he won. So I was stung there. But I feel like again, it can't be Cesaro again, you know. And this feud's got to end. I think Cesaro's got the upper hand all the other times, and Seth just hasn't really got that much going on, you know, other than the suits. You know, obviously, did the video on that, guys. But yeah, he's not really. And just before he went away as well, it was like he was starting to lose a few matches. He kind of needed that shine again. So I think he's going to have to win it. I think he has to win it, basically, you know. So for that, I'm going with Seth. But again, I'd love to see Cesaro. I wanted to see him get pushed on to that next level. Been impressed with everything he's done. He's deserved it. Great guy, great wrestler. But yeah, surely this time round, it's going to go back to Seth's win column.
Yeah, I think Seth. Yeah, I think Seth. I think that Seth is going to be an integral part to Money in the Bank. I'm seeing a lot of stuff that he is one of the favourites to win that match this year. So I think that this win will be his kind of way to kind of get into that match. And obviously, I guess they're going to do something where they have qualifiers or beat the clock tangent, that kind of stuff. And I think someone like Seth, is a first ballot name, I guess, for Money in the Bank. And we've spoken a lot, obviously, the past year or so, how he's obviously with this, obviously, Messiah gimmick. He drifted, obviously, through the divisions and down the card a little bit. And obviously, obviously, become the father during this time too. But I think it will be the time where they go, okay, actually, let's kind of resume where we were. Because, again, let's not forget, Seth Rollins, for me anyway, and for lots of other people, I think he always sits very high on that kind of, when people go, who is the best wrestler in the world at the moment? Like, I think he's one of those first names that comes up, along with people like AJ Styles. And if you're into the All Petite Wrestling stuff, then there's some people on there that I guess also get mentioned. But I think for me, Rollins is that guy. And they obviously paused his push to give The Fiend his moment, obviously, way back in 2019, which feels like a lifetime ago, as we're all aware all the time of obviously how our daily lives have changed since literally just 2 years ago. But I think they paused it, and then obviously they tried whatever they tried last year when it came to Goldberg, and then it came to building up Goldberg versus Reigns, then it was Goldberg and Strowman, then whatever they did with Strowman for half the year. And now it's obviously it's on Reigns. It's like, that's cool, but I think Rollins versus Reigns will be a way to go, and if they want to merge Rollins back into a babyface, this might be the way to do it. Because again, like if Reigns is now beating Rey Mysterio, like who else is there really for him to beat? If they're going to set up a dream match, fair enough. Or obviously down the line, obviously with Cena, and then obviously might bring another part-timer for him. But who else on the main roster is there that can challenge Reigns? The answer is Seth Rollins with the briefcase. So Seth Rollins wins tonight here. He wins Money in the Bank, in my opinion, and that's where we go. So yeah, Seth Rollins winning.
Well, do you know what? So I think it makes sense for Seth to win, but this is my thing. If Cesaro's already got a victory over him, so if Seth wins, that makes it 1-1 at a pay-per-view, right? So they have to have a rubber match, and then the feud still continues. So if Seth wins, the feud will continue. So if Cesaro wins, then everything that Lucas you just said, but I think it goes to Cesaro. He could win briefcase. Basically, he was going to feud Roman next, but the only reason that stopped is because of Seth. He has unfinished business to go towards Roman. So I think it makes sense if they need someone else, even if it's for a loss. If it has someone else, then it needs to be Cesaro. They can hold off on Seth for a later date. As you said, if that's going to print money and that's going to make money as a dream match right now, then it can wait. And while they're doing that, they can turn Seth face. Let him get over again when the crowds come back, then go against Roman at a later date. Even in the old Survivor Series, full well Roman's got that title for ages. That's it. For me, that makes more sense. So I'm going Cesaro, and then on that way towards Roman.
So just to copy my answers again, isn't it, mate? That's all it is. So,
well, it means just split in the middle of that match, which is interesting. I think that's a good point to raise all around. And like I said, it's going back to the thing of, with Money in the Bank around the corner, there's a lot that could happen, I guess, isn't there? It seems deliberate that these matches, including the next one, are on the card. What are we laughing at now?
We are laughing. Has anyone told Scott?
Right. There was a BBC News thing a couple of months ago where some person went to Cornwall during the storms. They sent some poor kind of woman out there in the middle of the pandemic to talk about, obviously, the high tides and stuff. And she's literally being battered by the waves. I'm just like, this is what might happen to Scott. We might just see Scott just be like...
I like a reporter, yeah.
Because they're not supposed to wait. Scott's not the biggest person in the world. So one wave, I think that would be enough to kind of just wipe him out.
Do you know, I'm just literally hoping that he's not just randomly descended onto like a nudist beach and just a load of people are going to start running across.
Yeah, it's going to be blocked straight away, wouldn't it?
Just a load of people just running, like start skinny dipping in the sea or something.
I might see if I can come back to you at the end of this.
Yeah, probably could, mate. See if you can get like a peddler or something.
You're saying like Cesaro being like the one to beat Reigns, like Rob was saying. That would be insane, because I keep thinking, who's going to be the one to beat Reigns after this insane push that he's had? Well-deserved, great character, everything. We've gone on about it for months now, but like, someone's got to dethrone that man. Like Cesaro, like I'd love it. Don't get me wrong, but wow, I wasn't even thinking that way.
But then as well, I suppose the way that we've got to look at things is whoever wins the Money in the Bank match, because they're not brand specific now, it's just you get a men's and a women's one. So I'm guessing much like the Royal Rumble, you can challenge whoever. So we could at some point maybe see see Roman as champion over on SmackDown. There's nothing stopping, say, Cesaro going over to Raw and being the one that dethrones Bobby Lashley as well.
It depends on the rule they do, because last year it was brand specific. This is the thing. Last year it was brand specific. You know, so it's what now?
Chris Jericho and all that.
Yeah.
Still keeping it loosely on wrestling, you know?
But yeah, I mean,
I need a Raw roulette for my next game.
Yeah. Party games, isn't it? Pass the parcel all by yourself, sort of.
Oh, I love that, yeah.
Pin Mattel on the donkey, that was a good one.
Yeah.
So
so yeah, I mean, I think if we're all done with that one, then we'll get on to the final match to predict, and that is a match between Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. That, to be fair, that graphic of Sami always makes me
I feel
laugh.
so sorry for Sami in that picture.
Like literally, but so the interesting thing apparently about that match though was apparently it was there was internal talk that it could be actually inside the cell. And it was something that I'd spoken about quite a bit on later SmackDown as well. That I was saying that they should really have put these guys inside the cell together. Just give them like 15, 20 minutes and just say to them, just go out and do whatever you want to do. You know, it's like, obviously people that used to watch the independent scene would know like how great Kevin Steen El Generico feud used to be. And, you know, this is going to be like just incredible match with these two. So let's get round to seeing who is going to pick first for the final one. It is number 4.
Oh, man. I thought I was going to get away with not having to go first.
Thankfully, it's not me, because this is the hardest one, but I'm going second. So it's still kind of...
I mean, if we're going storyline driven, Owens has already beat Sami Zayn once. So... I don't know. It's just one of those things. Like, you do, as great as they are together, you don't want them together because you just want to see a match. You don't ever want a winner. You just we're the winners in this situation because the matches are always great. It's just really hard to pick. I guess if Sammy's still going along with a conspiracy thing, then I reckon it'll be a dodgy finish and Owens could win that way. But I don't think that'll be the way they go. I think in order to keep the feud going, I think Sami Zayn needs to win this one. So one, like, level it up, and then they'll go again at Money in the Bank. Or both of them will be in Money in the Bank, and one of them will cost the other one, which then will continue the feud a little bit later on for the next pay-per-view, which would be SummerSlam, right?
Money in the Bank and SummerSlam, yeah.
Yeah. So I reckon it could go to SummerSlam because one of them will cost the other one. Yeah. So
go to Sammy Slam.
Yeah. Wow. I'm going Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn. So right, this was quite tough because I wasn't sure which way I was going to go, but it's kind of because obviously Kevin Owens, it would make sense. Obviously, get a win back kind of thing, and like obviously what's been happening over on SmackDown. But then the more I think about it, I'm thinking Sami, but for different reasons. I'm thinking Sami because of the whole stuff that's been going on recently with Apollo and Commander Aziz, and I reckon that they are going to come in potentially to help Sami. But I reckon Big E maybe as well will come in and try and like even things up, but then just get Nigerian nailed. Owens, I guess, will get distracted, and then Sammy will just be like haluva kick 1, 2, 3. So I think Sammy. That's how. I think that's how they're going to get around it, pretty much. So for me, Sami Zayn to win this one.
Okay, cool. It's getting a bit windy, so I'll try and be brief on this one. So I think Sami Zayn as well, whether or not the feud's continuing or it's ended. If it continues, that's 1-1, like Rob says. We move on to the third for the rubber match. If it's ending, it's because Sami looked like a chump at WrestleMania in a good way, as a heel should. You know, like the whole Logan Paul thing. We're all up for that. I think we all like understood what happened and why it happened. I think it's now time for Sami Zayn to kind of get his one up on the feud and that be it, or continue. I don't think it needs to continue for a feud. Weirdly, like saying dragging it past, you know, having that pit stop at Money in the Bank and it drags it to SummerSlam. At the beginning, like the feud just went like that. It was like, oh, this is a Mania match, by the way, because it kicked him in the face.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really weird. It's a really fast feud, but really dragging it, you know, so because it should have been the last pay-per-view, surely, a Backlash, WrestleMania Backlash. But anyway, for me, Sami Zayn's winning.
Cool.
I think that this match, like Cesaro's match, is kind of leading us to where SmackDown will go with Money in the Bank people. I think obviously these four will become those top contenders, along with a couple of others perhaps on SmackDown. SmackDown's roster is so small at the moment. Well, in terms of who they're using, sorry, on SmackDown, it's so small. But yeah, I can't believe we're seeing another rematch. Like, come on. You know, yeah, I don't know. In terms of who should win, now this is one that, to be fair, could have benefited from a stipulation, you know, big time. But I know that maybe they're obviously trying to prevent injuries. And obviously when these two, if they were to have a stipulation like a street fight or the cell or something like that, like they would obviously go absolutely crazy. You know, as we've seen obviously from, well, every match they've had previously that's involved weapons, especially when it comes to Owens. But yeah, I think they're missing a trick with it though. Like, not by not having a stipulation. And by not having a stipulation makes you think it will continue. But I still think it will continue with Owens winning this match. So I would go with Owens to win. Because I still think he's another one who I think they teased with it a few years ago, and they haven't done it since. But he's another one who I think they could mold into a star if they so wanted to do so. But how WrestleMania didn't end this feud, or how they didn't build up a feud to WrestleMania, and then obviously this match happening, as even as its card is in terms of 3 men's matches, 3 women's matches, how are we getting just 6 singles matches in the pay-per-view? How are neither set of tag belts being defended? Not the IC Championship, not the US Championship, not anything. But they're just doing Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn again, like with almost nothing to kind of shotgun it. It's just, yeah, it boggles the mind, this company sometimes.
Yeah, it's strange though. Yeah, where they've got obviously the 6 singles matches, you would have assumed that. I guess, that there would have been something with the US title, obviously with Sheamus and Ricochet, because obviously that's all going on at the moment.
Even if that happened, that would be a rematch from last month. This is where we are with this company. Like, it's the same people.
And I think as well they missed the trick as well. Like, obviously the Hell in a Cell thing, and I think had they done it in front of fans, they could well have gotten away with like an Armageddon style Hell in a Cell for the Intercontinental title, because you've got obviously Apollo, Big E, Sammy, Kevin Owens, so there's 4 there. You could easily have thrown like Rollins and Cesaro in there as well for like the IC title, you know, or even, you know, oh wait, hang on, you got rid of Aleister Black. He could have easily gone in there.
Has the IC title ever been defended inside the title? I don't think it has, is it?
Not too sure.
I don't believe so.
To be fair. So,
okay, yeah, I don't think so either.
We've got another one from Matt. In a US title has been on pre-shows a lot, hasn't it? Is that just Sheamus? Yeah, maybe. You know, he must be on like tag or something that he has to be back early for something. Can't stay out past 7 p.m. Otherwise,
Mum said he has to
bleeping.
come in when the street lights come on.
So. Oh, and confirmation there. No, it hasn't. So.
Yeah, I didn't think so. But yeah, obviously the women's championships have both now been defended inside the cell. Both of the world championships have been defended inside the cell.
Tag titles as well. Did they do tag titles as well?
Usos and New Day.
Yeah,
fantastic match.
Tag titles. Not the women's tag titles yet.
Yeah, well, I doubt they will, to be honest. Oh, sorry, one sec.
Say that. Legacy.
DX and Legacy, yes, he's correct.
DX and Legacy, yeah.
Yeah, DX and Legacy. And the 6-man tag they did, wasn't it? DX versus the McMahon, wasn't it? Or like 3-on-2, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Okay, but it wasn't the top, but yeah. Okay. But yeah, I think they need, I don't know what it is. They need to hire someone who's the excitement guy, someone who sits there and says, hey, like this card's okay, but let's have something fun. Let's have something. Because again, this is what I don't like AEW, but I think when I look at their cards, especially for pay-per-views, I'm like, oh, this actually, that at least looks fun, even if it's in a stupid way. Whereas to WWE, I think they're playing it too safe now to an extent. Because obviously on this card, essentially, we're going to get some good wrestling, don't get me wrong, but it's so bland. Like it's just missing that. Like I know, obviously, they go crazy with some of their, their matches in terms of the stuff like Casino Battle Royals and ladder matches and all that kind of stuff. Every card sometimes. But if someone need it, do you know what I mean? Someone needs that injection of like fun, different, like again, like the IC title thing. Why can't you have a match, like a 4-way? Sammy, Owens, Apollo, Big E. Like that is a really good match right there. Leads to all these different, and obviously when we're talking about predictions, like we can talk about different. We might all pick different winners in that because they're 4 different wrestlers, aren't they? But no, we're treated to the same match as we saw 2 months ago, and that's what makes it even more insulting for me because I'm like, well, like these weren't even rematches from like last week or whatever. They're rematches from like 2 months ago that you just paused for like a month, to do WrestleMania Backlash because you wanted to do a couple of other matches that again were rematches anyway, and then now you just brought them back again. So you had all that time to think, oh, let's think of new feuds, new rivalries. And again, Dan, I think we spoke about this off air. We're saying about how this is why the draft worked perfectly after WrestleMania because it forced them to obviously change things up, didn't it?
It's always that hard reset, isn't it? Like the season, like you see WrestleMania say like as like the season finale sort of thing, and then the night after WrestleMania is when like all like the new feuds and stuff will start, and it's like. Right, okay, so these are your champions coming out of the end of last season or the last series, and these are now going to be your champions going forward, sort of thing. But
I don't know why they don't do it. I don't know why they don't do it because look at the end of you'd have Super Bowl and then they'd have their draft season. Even with football for us or soccer for Americans, we have everything that finishes FA Cup, the final Champions League, and all that stuff. Then we get transfer season at the beginning. So I don't know why they don't put the draft after Mania and then it's basically transfer.
I think
and
it's
whatnot.
because of Fox again. Fox insisting on the draft. I think they insist on the draft being around September time, for their for the American TV season premiere. Because obviously again, with Raw and SmackDown both being continuously broadcasting programs, usually a series will start in September and will finish around April, May, and what the Americans call the sweeps, which are the biggest weeks for television, which were usually around May time, which is why they moved, which is why Money in the Bank went around that time a lot as well, because that's usually when those ratings are the ones they look at to renew television for, basically. But usually, with obviously Raw and SmackDown being continuously going on and on like that, it's one of those where you don't ever get that break, do you? Really? And like you said, with football, it'd be great if we could have a break if they could, because I think it could refresh the product. But with football, can you imagine if football went FA Cup and the Premier League, and then the next week we're Premier League season starts again, guys? No time to. No time for the charity games or the transfer season. Because for me, football, one of the best times of the year is that transfer window, isn't it? When it opens. Because that's what the But imagine if you used to have that on top of, but we still got games to play. You can legitimately have people walk out of one game and be well, I'm going to the opposing club next week. So,
did you actually lock anyone in for this match?
Who? This match?
You?
Yeah, Kevin Owens.
Oh, you said Owens, cool.
Yeah.
By the way, Scott, we've got one more message for you, by the way, from Matt.
Yeah, I'm going to stay in the experiments. See where does the sand go in the wind, stuff like that, and look at the moon. Hold on, let me show you guys around because we're about to wrap up soon, I'm sure. So I'm going to fall over. It's the first time the moon's been on the screen. Can you see the moon? Look at that.
Yeah, look at that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Really nice. It's finally getting dark there as well.
So yeah, I'm just going to stay here, Matt. I'm going to do experiments all night. Watch Hell in a Cell on the beach. And I'll be here for the review, hopefully.
You know, this is the first time since WrestleMania that Ronnie Storm hasn't appeared on the screen.
I know.
What a disgrace.
I thought that. I thought I wouldn't be able to bring him. He'd get lost in the sand, you know. All those. It's hard not popping them up anyway, and all the little swords flying everywhere.
That's because you don't know what you're doing, mate.
I'd lose them.
Well, yeah, Bull, he goes to Great Yarmouth quite a lot, so you might see him in a bit. He'll probably show up on the beach.
Yeah.
It is getting dark where Scott is, by the way. I'm quite worried.
It
for
is,
you,
isn't
mate.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
My lights died as well, so.
Is someone going to build a sand trap? We'll just see him disappear in a minute. Just.
But anyway,
Castle in a minute.
yeah. So I think with that being said, like obviously your lights go in a bit, and you know, I think we're probably best to like get on out of here. But yeah, don't forget, guys, we will be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. British time for the review show. If you are not watching in the UK, you're watching from the States, then it's 9 a.m. Pacific time and 12 midday Eastern time. That will be for our review of Hell in a Cell. But yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Matt, Vinny, whoever else is watching, guys, thank you for joining in and your comments. Lucas, Scott, Rob, thank you guys for joining us as well. We're looking forward to Hell in a Cell. So yeah, take care. We will see you all very soon. Don't forget, like, share, subscribe, watch all the other videos that we've done. Plenty more content coming your way. For now, that is it. We will see you tomorrow. Take care. Bye for now. Welcome to the Rebellious Noise Pro Wrestling channel. On this channel, we bring you some great content from inside and outside of the squared circle. We will go through and offer some in-depth analysis of the biggest events of the year, as well as bringing you exclusive interviews with some of the industry's biggest names. There will also be live show reviews, in-depth features, and podcasts. So make sure you give that subscribe button a slam so you don't miss any of the action.